In the last few days, we've had a bit of information overload about Season 2 in Marvel Rivals, including new character information for Emma Frost, who's taking the internet by storm according to Google Trends, as well as Ultron. We've had the full Battle Pass details drop on us. We've seen all the new skins that are coming with the launch of the new season. But the one thing that I think is the most important bit of info that we've got is the detailed information about all the upcoming buffs, nerfs, reworks, and tunings for the heroes that we play. I've sat with that data for a few days now, really mulling it over, and there are 3 characters that I think are really going to shine because of these changes. 3 characters that I think are about to be much more steady meta picks in the upcoming sandbox. So with that, let's talk about those 3 characters and why. First up is Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. So Johnny is one of the 10 characters I currently have at Lord status. I think he's already incredible. His skill ceiling is one of the highest in the game in my opinion, but players with great positioning, target prioritization, accuracy with projectile attacks, and situational awareness can really be the most dominant force on the field. But apparently NetEase wants him to be stronger. So this coming Friday, here's what's changing for the matchstick. First, his primary fire attack is getting faster. There's 2 major changes here and one important distinction to make. They already buffed his primary fire mid-season this past season. That buff gave him 2 additional projectiles in his cluster, and it also targeted the speed at which those projectiles fly. So they now fly faster, making them easier to hit against mobile targets. This new buff, though, isn't changing the projectile speed, but rather 2 different aspects of the attack. The first is the rate of fire. We'll now be able to fire these more quickly with less time in between clusters. The second change that's coming is the delay between when you push the button to fire and when the attack actually comes out. So right now there's a delay. You don't actually fire the cluster as soon as you hit the trigger, okay? He sort of does this awkward wind up before throwing it out. They're all but removing that delay now, so the attack actually seems to come out when you tell it to. That's going to make his primary fire much more intuitive. It can be tricky to land his primary fire because of the delay and the travel speed of the clusters, but these changes should help most players get more mileage out of his primary attack. The next thing that's changing is his dive attack, the Flaming Meteor. Now, I have a full guide on how to use the Human Torch, and without sounding arrogant or conceited, I think it's genuinely one of the best guides for him out there, as most people just got theirs up within the first 2 days of Human Torch coming out, you know, since he was the new hotness, right? I actually waited a couple of weeks until well after I had, at that point, 30 hours of gameplay on him, and showed some really cool, nuanced, specific maneuvers you can perform. A lot of those maneuvers revolve around the use of his Flaming Meteor attack. I even showed you how you can kill Luna Snow out of her ultimate, which, I mean, I just did last night while playing with him again. This dive has massive potential. You can bait health packs with this attack, and stack Blazing Blasts, which will exponentially increase the damage of your impact of the dive. One of the best things you can do is eliminate key duelists or key healers with this dive and then get out, but it's the getting out that's tricky, and that's where this buff comes into play. With this new buff, the Human Torch is going to get 75 bonus hit points, 75 bonus HP the second his dive lands. Now, important to note, I might add, that it activates on your arrival, not on your dive activation when you're up in the air. So you can still die on your way in if you're not careful, so keep that in mind. But when you land, you'll get this bonus HP. And the purpose of that health is to help you get the heck out of there, since you'll be on the ground. But I would also encourage you to weigh your options here too. You could actually use that bonus HP to give you the confidence you need to take on an enemy target up close, because his primary fire, a lot of people use it as a sniper. It does terrible damage from range. Don't do that. It's actually a shotgun. Guys, it does 196 damage to the head within 15 meters. Are you kidding me? This primary fire is insane. So now having that extra 75 hit points can give you the confidence to slow down, line up that shot, and then absolutely nuke someone up close before flying away. Let's move on to the second character that's about to become pretty meta in Marvel Rivals. This time, it's Penny Parker. Now, when I read Penny's buffs, I was blown away. These are some massive changes. First up is a big one. Her primary fire attack can now critical, right? It can now crit. You'll be critting people. That alone is an incredible change to her damage output. One of the places where Penny struggles right now is tank-on-tank violence, okay? So tanks like Magneto can just float up to her and stand just outside the edge of her nest area and destroy the nest with just splash damage from his primary fire. Meanwhile, Penny is just like holding the trigger down, shooting Magneto, and he's just giggling because it tickles. But with this change, Penny is going to be able to really stand toe-to-toe with enemy tanks and pump out some respectable damage. She doesn't just have to hide in the corners and be a trapper anymore. She can be a proper frontline tank too. That's seriously going to elevate her game. And while we're on the topic of her primary fire, another buff that's coming Friday is to her movement speed. So currently when Penny is using her primary fire ability, she has a 40% movement penalty, meaning she's considerably slower while shooting. But they're actually cutting that penalty in half, reducing it down to a 20% movement penalty instead. This means Penny will be able to walk and shoot much more fluidly in combat moving forward. The next change targets her health pool. While a lot of characters get nerfs to their HP like Mantis, Captain America, Penny is actually getting a massive bump to her total HP with a 100 hit point increase, taking her from 650 to 750, which puts her in line with other frontline tanks like the Thing. It's pretty clear to me, between the changes to her primary fire and the increase to her health pool, that NetEase sandbox designers really want Penny to have a stronger presence on the front line. She can dish out more damage, she can walk up with the team and the payload, and tank more damage before going down. These changes on top of one another will make Penny a much more consistent pick for teams moving forward. She's already got a strong presence in the higher tier comp lobbies right now. In my last session spanning several hours, going between GM1 and Celestial lobbies, there were more Penny Parkers in my matches than there were Doctor Stranges. Isn't that wild? Let's move on. The final hero I want to highlight today, who I think is going to be a serious contender, despite how unserious this hero is of course Mr. Fantastic. He got some crazy reworks to his kit. Now, to be clear, I think Mr. Fantastic is already a wild card on the battlefield as it is. It depends a lot on your own team composition. But if you're playing with a strong frontline team, then Mr. Fantastic can pop off. In this game in the background that I had just last night, I ended up with 51 kills on him in a single match. He's nuts. And he's about to get a lot stronger. So first things first here, he's going to get a 25 hit point buffs, okay? So he's going to get 25 more hit points in his standard form, bumping him up from 350 to 375. So a little extra survivability. That's a lot of health for a duelist, but he's a hybrid, obviously. Next up, his punch attack is getting buffed in two ways. First is its damage. So each punch will do 5 more damage than it currently does. So in his standard form, that's 65 damage per punch instead of 60, bringing the total for his combo up to 195 damage, as opposed to the current 180 damage. In his tank mode, his inflated state, that goes from 75 damage per punch now up to 80 damage per punch, for a total of 240 damage for your combo. That's just barely not enough to destroy a healer outright. The second way they're buffing his punches is by increasing the amount of elasticity he gains from them. Basically, you need to stack up 100 elasticity in order to go into your big fatty tank boy form. Currently, a punch will give you 5 elasticity to your total, but after the buff, you'll be getting 8 elasticity per punch. So right now, with the punches alone, you would need to land basically 7 full combos to go into your tank mode. After this change, though, you'll only need 4 full combos instead of 7, and then just 1 extra punch on top of that. So some pretty big buffs right there. But we are just getting started here. One of the core abilities in his kit is called Flexible Elongation. This is his E ability, where he either lunges to a teammate and gives them a shield, or he lunges to an enemy and damages them. It's one of the best tools he has for closing the gap on an enemy, like a Spider-Man or a Star-Lord trying to get away, or to get up on a flying enemy like Storm or Iron Man. But here's what's cool. This new buff will make it so that any enemy you hit with this ability will receive a slow debuff, reducing their movement speed by a whopping 35% for a few seconds. Are you kidding me? Mr. Fantastic is about to become one of the best peelers in the game. Imagine a Spider-Man or a Black Panther dives on your healers just for you to pop this ability on them. do some damage on impact, and then make them move like they're stuck in molasses, and you just absolutely delete them while they're moving in slow motion. I cannot wait. On top of that, this will make him even better at targeting flying enemies as well, as they won't be able to hit the jets and fly away as quickly. This buff it's actually insane, but there's more. They're also reducing the cooldown of this ability by 2 seconds. You get 2 charges. Each charge is now on a 10-second cooldown instead of the current 12-second cooldown. So you can use this ability much more frequently. The only trade-off is that they're reducing the total elasticity you gain from each use down to 20 from 30, okay? But with us getting more mileage out of each use, and we're getting more uses with the cooldowns, and we're getting extra elasticity from our primary attack, I'm thinking this is a totally fair trade-off, and I'm not worried about it at all. But we're not even done yet. There's one more trade-off Mr. Fantastic is getting with this update. Right now, he gets 450 extra hit points whenever he goes into his inflated big boy state. Now, they're reducing that total to 400, so a loss of 50 hit points in his big boy form. But the trade-off is that he will automatically get that same 400 hit points when he activates his ultimate ability, Bouncing Brainiac. This is huge. That ultimate is a bit of a joke right now. You can definitely do well with it, but you're so vulnerable and super easy to kill out of this ult. So this will give us a ton more survivability while we're bouncing around, since it takes several bounces to do enough damage to kill even a squishy target, since they'll be dishing out heals the whole time you're bouncing around. I personally love this change. All of these adjustments are going to compound to make Mr. Fantastic one of the most potent duelists on the front line, and I can't wait to see how it all plays out. And there you have it. Those are the 3 heroes I think are going to shoot to the top of the meta next Friday when the new season goes live. Let me know which heroes you think are going to be getting a lot more powerful, and which ones you think are going to lose their potency. You know, if this video does well, I might also upload a second video detailing who I believe are the 3 heroes most likely to drop to the very bottom of the meta due to incoming nerfs. I already have thoughts on that, and a couple heroes I'm actually a little worried about, so let me know if that sounds interesting to you. Thank you so much for watching the video today. If you enjoyed it, leave a like in the video, as that's the best free way to support the content right here on YouTube, and consider subscribing for more consistent Marvel Rivals content. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.